Recap. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 945, Chapter Visruf. In the boundless wilds where heaven and earth intertwined with the laws of cultivation, a thunderous presence emerged, its aura heavy as a collapsing mountain, its breath steeped in ancient ferocity. It is a silver-horned mad rhinoceros! Shui Yanyu's voice rang out, sharp with shock, her eyes fixed upon the monstrous figure before them. Ling Han narrowed his gaze, calm yet curious. "Is it truly that formidable?" he asked, his tone steady. Though this was his first encounter with an immortal-level demonic beast, to him, such creatures were still veiled in mystery. Shui Yanyu's expression grew solemn, her voice low as she explained. This beast stands equal to a 2-star genius of the same cultivation level. Its strength lies in that silver horn, sharp enough to pierce through mountains, and its body is forged like divine iron, possessing astonishing defenses. Only its speed is somewhat lacking. Even as she spoke, the silver-horned mad rhinoceros scraped its hooves against the earth, each movement sending tremors through the ground. Behind it, a phantom image rose, a towering mountain, vast and imposing, yet barren of rivers. This means its cultivation has not yet reached the late stage of the low extreme of the mountain river tier, Shui Yanyu continued, her eyes sharp. If it had, rivers would flow within that vision. Judging from the solidity of that mountain, it should be in the middle stage of the low extreme. Ling Han studied the illusion with interest, but Shui Yanyu's next words carried weight. In truth, its battle prowess reaches the peak of the low extreme, she said. Against it, our chance of victory is only 20%. Ling Han let out a short laugh. Hey, have you factored in my strength? Shui Yanyu replied without hesitation. It is precisely because you are here that our chances are only 20%. Otherwise, I might have 30. Ling Han chuckled, amused rather than offended. So you think I'm dragging you down? That's rather entertaining. Shui Yanyu shook her head. The odds are too low. It would be wiser to avoid this fight. Ling Han's eyes gleamed as he turned his gaze back to the beast. Too late. That wild bull clearly has no intention of letting us leave. As if to confirm his words, a deafening rumble split the air. Hong, long, long. The silver-horned mad rhinoceros charged. Though its speed was not swift, its sheer mass was overwhelming. Each step crushed the earth beneath it, leaving deep craters in its wake. The very ground seemed unable to bear its weight, the surrounding regulations too weak to restrain such destructive force. This creature's true body is likely larger than a mountain, Shui Yanyu said, her tone grave. Now that it has condensed itself to this size, its charge becomes even more terrifying. Ling Han's lips curved into a faint smile. I will create an opening. You finish it in a single strike. Shui Yanyu stared at him in disbelief. Have you lost your mind? You are only in the shattering void tier. Ling Han's eyes flickered with confidence. Have you forgotten? Even you could not break my defenses. At those words, Shui Yanyu's face flushed slightly, memories of their earlier clash surfacing unbidden. She cursed inwardly, calling him a pervert, yet a strange ripple stirred within her heart, an unfamiliar feeling that made her hastily push the thought aside. Before she could speak further, pang, pang, pang! The rhinoceros had arrived. Ling Han stepped forward, his gaze sharpening as he activated the Eye of Truth. Raising his right hand, he merged the profound might of the earth-overturning seal and thunderclap ninth heaven, unleashing a palm strike aimed directly at the beast's eyes. Yet the rhinoceros did not evade. Instead, it lowered its head slightly, then flicked it upward. Peng! The silver horn slammed into Ling Han's chest. In an instant, he was sent flying like a cannonball, his body streaking across the sky before crashing into the distance. His full-powered strike had failed to leave even a mark. Demonic beasts were born with bodies of terrifying resilience. At the mountain river tier, their physiques were not something a mere shattering void cultivator could pierce. Compared to human cultivators, they were creatures of pure, brutal strength. But in that fleeting moment, Shui Yanyu moved. Her sword flashed like a streak of cold moonlight as she slashed toward the rhinoceros's neck. Yet the beast reacted with startling precision. It twisted its massive body, turning its back toward her, then kicked out with explosive force. Peng! Shui Yanyu was sent flying, her figure tumbling through the air. Only after flipping more than 10 times did she manage to dissipate the force, landing steadily once more. In a single exchange, the rhinoceros had completely dominated them, Ling Han rose from the ground, rubbing his chest. His clothes were torn open, revealing a shallow wound, blood faintly seeping from the surface of his skin. "No wonder it is called silver-horned," he muttered. "Its destructive power is indeed astonishing. Even my physique cannot completely withstand it." To any observer, this scene would have been unbelievable. A mere shattering void cultivator had taken a direct blow from a mountain river tier beast and survived with only a superficial injury. The silver horn of the rhinoceros was infamous. Even beasts of the same level would not dare face it head-on. To do so meant either grievous injury or death. Seeing Ling Han unharmed, Shui Yanyu let out a breath of relief. Yet her lips still formed a small O of disbelief, something she felt she might never grow accustomed to. Ling Han laughed loudly, his spirit unbroken. With a swift motion, he charged forward once more. "Senior sister, let us fight together," he called. "Wait for my signal." Shui Yanyu felt a surge of irritation. "I am clearly stronger, far stronger, yet I must follow your lead?" she thought. But this was no time for pride. Suppressing her dissatisfaction, she gripped her sword and advanced, holding back her attack as she waited for his command. "Now!" Ling Han shouted. At that instant, a strange ripple surged forth. His 7-kill subduing soul technique. The invisible force struck the rhinoceros directly. Its charge faltered. Its legs weakened, and its massive head tilted slightly, the deadly silver horn missing Ling Han by a hair's breadth as it veered off course. Seizing the opportunity, Shui Yanyu surged forward like flowing water, her sword descending upon the beast's neck. Ding! Sparks erupted. Though her blade cut into its flesh, it failed to penetrate deeply. The rhinoceros roared in pain, its consciousness snapping back instantly. With a violent toss of its head, it sent Ling Han flying once more, then charged forward, ripping the embedded sword from its own flesh. Blood poured from its neck. Enraged, the beast's body expanded tenfold. Its form grew colossal, its black hide radiating overwhelming strength. The earth beneath it collapsed, as though an entire mountain range had descended upon the land. Ling Han's eyes widened in astonishment. Its mountains and rivers possess a unique alignment. He recalled the left minister's words. Certain mountain river stones bore special properties, such as immense weight. And now, this beast displayed exactly that. Perhaps demonic beasts here do not refine mountain river stones. Ling Han mused aloud, but are born with such abilities. Shui Yanyu landed beside him in a graceful arc, sword in hand, her presence both fierce and elegant. "Speculation aside," she said, "how do we deal with it now?" Ling Han glanced at her, then turned back to the towering beast. "Same as before. I will stun it. You strike." Her gaze sharpened. "Can you endure it?" Ling Han smiled, teasing. "Are you worried about me now?" Shui Yanyu snorted, turning her head away. "Who would care if you died?" Yet the battle had already reached its boiling point, and neither of them could retreat. Before them stood a beast of overwhelming might, and behind them, there was no path back. The moment the silver-horned mad rhinoceros lowered its massive head once more, the very earth seemed to tremble in fear. With thunderous roars that echoed like war drums across the heavens, the beast charged again. Peng, 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 each step crushing the land beneath it. Its innate mountains and rivers' power surged outward, and under that terrifying force, the ground compacted violently. Stones that had been flung into the air were instantly ground into fine dust, as though the world itself bowed before its might. Within that suffocating gravitational domain, even seasoned warriors would find their strength crippled, their movement sluggish, their battle prowess reduced to a mere shadow of what it once was. As the beast closed in, the invisible pressure bore down upon Ling Han like a collapsing mountain. Crack, crack. His godly bones rang out with sharp, brittle sounds under the strain. Any ordinary cultivator at the shattering void tier would have been flattened into a smear of flesh long ago. Even those who had stepped into the mountain river tier, if they failed to circulate their origin power in time, would suffer the same miserable fate. And yet, Ling Han stood firm. Though his bones creaked, though the pressure clawed at his body like 1,000 iron hands, his physique, tempered like divine metal, held strong. He endured. A faint glint flashed in his eyes. Once more, he moved. With practiced precision, Ling Han unleashed the 7-kill subduing soul technique again. The invisible force shot forth like a silent blade, piercing directly into the spirit of the silver-horned mad rhinoceros. In an instant, the beast's charge faltered. Its mind wavered, confusion clouding its savage instincts. The oppressive gravitational field that had blanketed the battlefield shattered like a broken illusion, and the air returned to normal. That single moment, that fleeting opening. Shui Yanyu seized it without hesitation. Her figure flickered forward like a streak of cold moonlight, and her sword descended, slashing directly into the already torn flesh of the rhinoceros. Steel met blood, and a fresh wound split open atop the old one, deepening the damage. The silver-horned mad rhinoceros howled. A cry filled with pain and fury tore through the ravaged land. Driven into madness, it began to charge wildly in all directions, its hooves hammering against the ground as it bulldozed everything in its path into chaos. Again, Ling Han called out. Their coordination was seamless now, refined through repetition, sharpened by danger. Time and time again, Ling Han struck with his soul technique, stunning the beast, while Shui Yanyu followed with merciless precision, carving deeper wounds into its massive body. Once, twice, over 10 times they repeated this deadly cycle. And at last, the monstrous life force of the silver-horned mad rhinoceros collapsed. With a final, unwilling roar, the demonic beast fell. Silence followed. Had it possessed greater intelligence, it would have fled long ago after suffering such repeated injuries. With its immense physique and terrifying speed, escaping would not have been impossible. But here, in this savage land, instinct ruled over wisdom, and instinct had led it to death. Shui Yanyu stood there, her chest rising and falling, disbelief flickering across her eyes. She looked at the fallen beast, then down at her blade, as though unable to reconcile the two. Such a terrifying demonic beast had truly died beneath her sword. Her gaze shifted to Ling Han, curiosity burning within it. "What kind of secret technique did you use?" she asked, unable to hold back her astonishment. "To actually stun the silver-horned mad rhinoceros like that. Without it, how could I have struck so easily?" Ling Han only chuckled lightly, a teasing smile tugging at his lips. "Hey," and said nothing more. That silence immediately sparked a flicker of irritation in Shui Yanyu's eyes. Yet just as quickly, her annoyance faded into something more restrained. After all, they were only pretending to be lovers. What right did she have to pry into his deepest secrets? Ling Han, for his part, also knew full well that if he were willing to expose the existence of the Black Tower, things would have been far simpler. The moment the rhinoceros had fallen unconscious, he could have drawn it into that hidden world and decided its life or death at his leisure. But such a secret could not be revealed, not even to her. Returning to the matter at hand, Ling Han lacked the strength to dissect the corpse of such a creature, so Shui Yanyu stepped forward instead. With precise movements, she cut open the body of the silver-horned mad rhinoceros, her blade slicing through flesh and bone. After some searching within the carcass, she finally retrieved something, a small piece of meat, barely the size of a pinky finger. Yet it was unlike any ordinary flesh. It gleamed with a pure snow-white color, and a faint, sweet fragrance wafted from it. Despite its size, it weighed no more than 50 grams. This was spiritual meat, the most precious essence contained within a demonic beast. To cultivators, it was an invaluable treasure, capable of greatly enhancing cultivation and restoring stamina. Shui Yanyu carefully collected it, then moved on to sever the beast's silver horn. Though the rhinoceros had been massive, these were the only two truly valuable parts of its body. As she worked, Ling Han suddenly spoke, his tone casual yet mischievous. "I've heard that if rhino horn is ground into powder and consumed, it greatly enhances a man's vitality." He paused, glancing at her with a grin. "Don't tell me you're planning to make me take it as a tonic?" For a heartbeat, silence. Then Shui Yanyu exploded. Her face flushed with fury as she brandished her sword, chasing after Ling Han with murderous intent. The air filled with the sharp whistle of her blade as she sought to carve him into pieces. Only after quite a bit of running and dodging did Ling Han finally manage to calm her down. Once peace was restored, the two resumed their search of the surroundings, carefully combing the area. But despite their efforts, not a single mountain river stone could be found. Ling Han frowned slightly. "So, what exactly does a mountain river stone look like?" Shui Yanyu replied, "It emits a faint glow. You'll recognize it the moment you see it." Though they now possessed spiritual meat, they chose not to consume it immediately, Refining such a treasure would require considerable time, and they had no idea how long they would remain within this realm. Thus, every moment was precious. Their priority was clear: find mountain river stones and hunt more demonic beasts to gather additional spiritual meat. And of course, that piece of godly metal remained one of their ultimate goals. If Ling Han had been alone, he would likely have wandered aimlessly, lost within the vastness of this realm. But with Shui Yanyu by his side, they had an advantage: a map painstakingly compiled over countless generations of explorers who had entered the Heavenly Sea mystery realm before them. Detailed, reliable. With it, they no longer feared wandering without purpose. And with Ling Han's unique soul technique as their hidden weapon, the two swept forward like a pair of unstoppable blades. Along their path, powerful demonic beasts fell one after another, and more pieces of spiritual meat were gathered into their possession. Shui Yanyu could hardly conceal her joy. She had never imagined their harvest would be so abundant. Yet despite all this success, they still had not encountered even a single mountain river stone. But this too was expected. How could such extraordinary treasures be so easily obtained? Of course, they were far from invincible. Whenever they encountered demonic beasts at the medium extreme of the mountain river tier, they had no choice but to retreat. Ling Han's 7 kills subduing soul technique lost its effectiveness against such foes. It could at best cause a fleeting sting, nothing more. 3 days passed in this relentless journey. Then, a ravine appeared before them. This was the only path leading to their next destination, the Crimson Lake. That place, it was said, would definitely contain mountain river stones. On either side of the ravine rose sheer cliffs, impossibly steep and fraught with danger. Climbing them was out of the question. There was only one way forward, through the ravine. Yet this path was far from safe. It was merely less dangerous than the alternatives. After all, if one truly sought safety, they would never leave home. Shui Yanyu spoke in a low voice, her expression serious. According to the rumors, the most dangerous thing in this ravine isn't a beast, but a demonic tree. It remains still most of the time, like any ordinary tree. But the moment prey passes by, it attacks. Once its branches entangle you, even someone at the peak of the low extreme would struggle to escape. Ling Han raised a brow. The Shui clan is at least a 5th-tier clan. You must have brought something to deal with it, right? Shui Yanyu nodded. Flame bullets. They are highly destructive against those demonic trees, but I only have 3. Ling Han's eyes lit up with interest. Are there any treasures on those trees? Shui Yanyu rolled her eyes at him. No one has ever dared to linger in this ravine. Everyone just wants to pass through as quickly as possible. And you're thinking of harvesting treasures here? Ling Han sighed faintly, disappointment creeping into his voice. Can't I? She shook her head. There's no spiritual meat on them. At best, their trunks are hard enough to be used as weapon material, but they're weak against fire, so their value isn't that great. Ling Han waved a hand dismissively. Then forget it. Let's just get through quickly. With that, they stepped into the ravine. An eerie silence enveloped them. No insects chirped, no beasts cried. The air was still, unnaturally so. It felt like walking into a dead world, one where even sound feared to exist. The oppressive quiet sent chills crawling down their spines. There was no clear path ahead. They could only move forward beneath the trees. These trees were modest in height, the tallest reaching only around 30 meters. Nothing compared to the towering giants outside that soared over 3,000 meters into the heavens. As they advanced deeper, the terrain grew more treacherous. Vines sprawled across the ground, each one covered in sharp, black thorns. These thorns gleamed with a deadly luster. If one failed to shield themselves with origin power, the thorns could easily pierce through flesh. Worse still, they carried a potent poison, capable of reducing prey into a pool of blood within moments. Leaving behind nothing but bones to be devoured, progress became slow. They had no choice but to carve a path forward. After all, they were the first to pass this way. Blade and sword flashed as Ling Han and Shui Yanyu worked together, cutting through the dense vines. They did not attempt to burn them. Ordinary flames were useless here. Only those who had cultivated powerful fire element techniques at the mountain river tier could hope to damage these vines. In this immortal realm, a mere shattering void tier cultivator was little different from a mortal in a lower world. incapable of causing any true disturbance. Time passed. Then, a faint sound stirred behind them. Both turned at once. Someone was approaching. Ling Han's lips curved slightly. Good. More people means faster progress. If we open the path together, we can move quicker. But Shu Yanyu's gaze remained cautious. Be careful, she warned softly. Human hearts are hard to predict. Ling Han nodded, his expression turning calm, yet resolute. If they do not offend me, I will not offend them. His eyes sharpened slightly. But if they harbor ill intent, a cold glint flickered within his gaze. I'll make sure they regret it.